Hey, like we're live. Okay, that's
What's
you.
up? How are you?
This is when you're supposed to drop that sick intro that you always do.
Hello, hello, hello.
Oh, God.
Isn't that Tyler Perry?
Uh, that was spirited. I like that. I like that a lot.
Did you like
Hello,
that?
everybody. Yeah.
It's been a couple
I
weeks.
was. I think it has. It's been two. What did we talk about last time?
Ew.
What did we talk about last time? Remember?
Wi-Fi.
Wi-Fi. That's it. Yes. Good old 5G. That's right. Tonight though, that actually because of a phone. We actually took calls last week or last time too, and
Yeah,
JC called in and was talking about the for-profit education system, and uh, we thought that would be a really good topic because you actually worked
yeah.
in that field. So yeah, that's what we're going to
I
do tonight.
did.
Uh, let's
I did,
see.
sadly.
Let me get to a couple of announcements, and then I want to touch on something briefly, and then we'll go into this week in newsdom.
We're
Um,
starting with Pennsylvania man, not Florida man.
yes, but we do have Florida. We do have Florida this
Ooh.
week. We do have Florida. Next week will be the Patreon week that I was talking about last week, and when I got sick, that kind of pushed things back. The private hangout where we're going to talk about what actually that entails is going to be this Saturday at 4 because I was dead to the world this past Saturday. So that makeup's going to be this Saturday at 4. On Friday night, if you guys have been following the new Independent Fundamentalist Baptist Church, these horrendous people that are just the garbage humans, we're going to be roasting them Friday night. So join myself, Mr. Atheist, and the Pumpkin Posse, as I believe that they're being called. By the way, repping
The
hard,
pumpkin pie.
repping hard. So that will be Friday at 9. And then I want to talk about something real quick, something really exciting. October the 25th, the 26th, and the 27th, we are going to be doing a thing called NunCon 2019. And this is going to be a super exciting weekend. All of the hosts that are here that go into what making the show what it is are going to be there, along with some of your favorite other debunkers, Reg Rhetoric, several other people like that. And that Friday night, what we're going to do is, if you remember last year, we did the first annual Golden Nun Awards. We're actually going to do that live. And this is going to be in Los Angeles the weekend of October 25th, the 26th, and 27th. So that Friday night, we'll have the awards show, the second annual Golden Nuns. And then on Saturday, we're going to do a bit of a debunking, debate, discussion, and dumpster fire mixed conference where a lot of people are going to be speaking on things that they do. Katie will be talking about doing what she does. We'll get to mingle, do lunch. And then that night, we're actually going to do a live show with an audience for the first time. So what I'm trying to get put together, and this is not in any way concrete, but what I'm hoping to put together is the a rematch of the first debate we ever did on this show, which was Red's Rhetoric and Nathan Thompson live. And since these other two people are actually based out of Los Angeles, I'm going to try to get Jesse Lee Peterson and Destiny to sit down again for a main event there that night. So that will be really cool. So then we'll have an after party that night out in LA. So make sure that
Can I
if you
just sit in the
can,
audience and get can I just sit in the audience and get drunk?
I figured that was that was going to be the plan anyway. That's what I'm going to be doing. That's what I'm going to be doing. I'm going to be
Well,
sitting out
let's
there
just
with
say I haven't had a weekend away from my son in 6 years. And when
uh,
I found out about this, I was more like, okay, it's working. I have to go to it's going there for work, but then at the same time I was like, oh my God, I get to leave my house and I get to like go spend time with human beings for 4 days. It's gonna be amazing, or three
yeah,
days. It's gonna be amazing.
it's going to be fun. And more details will be coming. We'll be Reds is actually going to be we'll be starting a GoFundMe to take care of the venue and getting the speakers out there, that sort of thing. Reds will be handling all of that. So he will be putting that together, and once he has that, I'll put the links in there, and we will be sort of drafting out where everything's going to go to so that everybody can see that, and it'll be fully transparent that way. I've seen very often here on YouTube when conferences like these are put together and it's not handled too well, and what happens in the aftermath. So this one will be absolutely every I dotted, every T crossed, because I have seen way too many horror stories here on YouTube. This is going to be a lot of fun. So if you can join us, if you're in the area and or you're not and you can make it out there, come hang out. It'll be a blast. I promise you. And I will warn you guys, I'm a hugger, so everybody that's there will probably get several hugs from me. And if you don't like that, put that on your name tag so that I'll know.
I'm like, okay, I am a hugger. I'm a hugger, but I'm also respectful of people's boundaries. And
I'm not.
If I'm super excited, I can be very high strung, especially if I'm not on my Adderall. So it's just gonna depend on whether or not like I'm Adderalled or not Adderalled.
If you're okay, that's good to know. That's good to know. We'll have to make sure that you're. Hopefully, we timed it right.
Yeah, I can be very animated. I can do some kicks and some, jumps and stuff. Very high energy.
Okay, well, we'll make sure that we bubble wrap you, put a helmet on you, and then just send you on your way. Also, for this, patrons of the channel will, of course, get a discount in the ticket prices. We're also going to be giving away tickets to the event, and let's see. Here's one last thing. I wanted to. This will be another person that we with other. And this starts now. If you're somebody that's artistic and you like to draw and that sort of thing, we are going to open up to you guys to create sort of a cool non-con logo, and we want to kind of keep it in a round form, just because of the website and that sort of thing. They mostly use the round format. So if you can create a non-con logo, the winner of that will win tickets out there to hang out all weekend. So if you're interested in that, you can email that to me at live@nonsexshow.com or send it through Twitter. DMs is the best place to get me. Katie, you before we go into this week in newsdom, did you want to talk about the feathers you've been ruffling, because you pissed off a mighty big YouTube channel this week?
Well, I can't really say a whole lot, but I've been ruffling some feathers in the beauty influencer world, let's just say, and some people are not happy with me right now. I can't say a lot about it.
Right, but we can say how many followers they have, to the tune of 14 roughly million,
10 million
followers.
10 million.
10 million, okay. Still,
yeah.
When it's that many, what's the difference between 14 and 10?
To be fair, somebody who has 14 million is like on my side. No, someone who has 16 million is on my side.
Yeah,
so
that is true.
6 million more like stands in my corner.
Yeah, which is good. I don't envy you, because that's going to be that's a vicious corner of YouTube. Those bitches don't play. So.
Oh God, yeah. The good thing is that I'm pretty thick-skinned, and so if they come at me and yell at me, I'm just like, whatever. Like, you're 18, go get out of your mom's basement. It's fine. And really, like, my role in, like, some of the people have been kind of like, why are you covering this beauty stuff? And I was actually I did a quick get ready with me, because I was like, I had a bunch of stuff I needed to tell my normal viewers about, because I was going to do a stream tonight, but then we were going to do this. And so I was like, okay, I got to do
changing
that. So
categories?
What?
You changing categories?
Oh, no. I was just doing my makeup with them, and like, we got to talk. I got to catch up with them and stuff. And
Mommy.
What?
I want to share.
Hey, buddy.
Hold on. Oh, there's my son. Hi, everyone.
Hey, buddy.
Oh, he's
How are
saying hi
you?
to you.
Mommy,
What do you want to see?
I want to show you this.
Yeah. So
Okay.
hopefully Katie
Cute!
does.
Hold on. Oh,
Sure.
cute!
Or he's gonna get on Bob's.
This is a Hallmark
Okay.
moment.
Yeah.
Aww.
Okay. You just say when he gets he's getting Bob's. He's not going.
That's adorable.
He is. He's so adorable.
That's adorable. I feel like we're doing.
wanted-
I feel like we were doing.
He
I feel like we were
loves-
doing
okay, he
like
loves this,
play by play on your interaction there. Dave and I were like,
What'd you
here
say?
she goes, going in for the hug. Oh, that's a mom moment. It's like we were doing play by play to your moment there. There's Katie with you on ring.
Yeah, so he watches this show called Hobby Kids TV. It's another YouTube channel, and he like loves that show. And they were at a farm, and he wanted to show me them hugging the pig,
Oh, that's
and they were
adorable.
nuzzling. So then he wanted to nuzzle. Okay, so no, a lot of
Good
some of the normal viewers were like, well, why are you covering some of this beauty stuff? But it's mostly because there's a lot of misinformation in the beauty community and a lot of products that have a lot of pseudoscience. And it just started with this like rabbit hole of woo related to some vitamins. And it's gotten sucked into like so many different angles because every time I turn around, there's something woo happening and it's like relevant to my column. And then funny is that a lot of the women that have been following me from the science perspective, they enjoy it because they like makeup.
You said a lot of woo has been following you around. You haven't been hanging out with Ric Flair, have you?
No.
Could do this. All right, let's start out with this week in newsdom, and I called this in my notes. This is so great. I called this in my notes. Traffic NATO.
Traffic NATO. Oh my god.
Sharknado. Come on, you never seen Sharknado? Come on, Katie.
Yeah, it's with Tara Reid.
Okay. This will make sense in a minute. Pennsylvania has seen more tornadoes than usual in 2019, with the state already getting hit in the more than the yearly average. And pardon my voice, everyone. I'm still recovering from strep throat, so that's why I sound a little not like myself, a little deeper than normal, which I don't mind. Let's see. But one Pennsylvania man thinks he knows the cause of the increase: traffic circles. According to a news station in Scranton, a segment has been called Talkback, which allows viewers to call and leave their opinions, and then the station airs them. We didn't have any tornadoes here until we started putting them damn traffic circles, because on account of, you know why? You want to know why? When people go round and round in circles, it causes disturbance in the atmosphere and causes them dadgum tornadoes. One man said about the recent uptick in tornadoes. Just recently, 6 tornado warnings were issued across the Commonwealth in a span of just 2 hours. Eric Court, director of the Weather Information Center, is still in. Said that this is highly doubtful. I love that. That's my favorite part of this story. That they had a guy from the Weather Center had to say this whole thing about traffic circles being the cause of an increase in tornadoes is highly doubtful. Not impossible. Not absolutely crazy.
Technically, it's not impossible. Butterfly effect and all, but
doubtful. I would go. With,
I
would go.
What I think is hilarious though is you're doing a Southern accent for Pennsylvania.
Well, yeah, that is true. I didn't even think about that. I'm just used to to. Here's why. I'm like it's a stereotype thing. Here in the South, every time a tornado hits, it always targets always a mobile home park. Always.
Oh yeah.
For whatever reason.
Always.
Now this is a interesting story. It's a true story. When I was growing up in school, most normal schools, I learned this later, when you do tornado drills, you would go into the hallway or you get under
Yeah.
your desk and you crouch down,
Yep.
put your hands over your head to protect, because that's supposed to stop something. If a tornado comes through your school and rips it to shreds, you being like this is going to do something. But where
Right.
I went to school, true story, we got overcrowded at the school, so classrooms they pulled in trailers, like literal mobile homes for classrooms. They just converted them into classrooms. So this is where the spillover went, and they had the 11th grade was out in the trailer park is what we called it. So
Yeah.
the tornado drills for these, if you were out there in the trailer park, you had to get out and push the fucking thing to safety. Yep, that's growing up in North Carolina. Okay, this is a good story. A pastor of a church and members beat a mortuary man for not allowing them to resurrect a congregant. A pastor
Wait,
is,
what?
yeah, that was my first reaction. A pastor and his church members have allegedly have been accused of allegedly beating a mortuary attendant for not letting them resurrect a church member. The national chairman of Mortuary Workers Association has revealed how a pastor and some congregants beat up this worker for not allowing them to resurrect one of their members who had died the previous Sunday. One of our members was called to come back to the hospital because some people have come requesting that they see the body of their member because their pastor said the person is not dead but alive. So they went to pray for him. The mortuary worker responded in the affirmative that they could not molest the body, but the church people went to beating him up. He also disclosed that the facility head at the hospital went behind the mortuary to take $300 in compensation for the victim and left the matter to rest. So the church went in because their pastor said this person was not dead yet, that he is still alive. So they marched down to where he was going to be buried at, demanded to have him exhumed, and beat him up when that wouldn't happen. And then the pastor took an offering that totaled $300 and took it to the victim, the guy that they beat up.
So they beat up the guy at the mortuary because they didn't get to resurrect the dead guy.
Right. Yeah. But they threw him $300. So it's all good, you know?
How does
we'll get the
$300 cover?
Dies.
How does $300 cover assault? I just don't get that.
Well, you have to remember too. This is in where is this at? This is in Sunyani.
Oh,
Sunyani.
So $300
Yeah, I don't even know
probably sustained them for a whole year there.
Yeah, probably a lot. But the funny thing
Here
is,
we
like,
kicked your ass, and here's $300.
the thing is though, like, they just gave up on the person they claimed was still alive. That's the whole funny thing. Once the person went to the hospital, they were like, "Oh, shit, fuck Tony. We'll get the next person that dies and resurrect them, but we got to raise some money so that Tony doesn't go suing us." Like, they just dropped the guy they were supposed to be resurrecting and tossed the other guy $300. Oh man, I guess it wasn't in God's plan. Okay, Florida. Now this guy's a genius.
Florida man.
Yep. Florida man calls 911 to brag after fleeing a traffic stop.
Oh my God.
Yep. In St. Johns County, Florida, a man most likely would have gotten away with ducking a traffic stop if he'd not called 911 to boast about it, the authorities said. This genius was behind the wheel of a white Hyundai Elantra that was stopped on May 4th on West King for a taillight infraction. But as deputies approached the Hyundai, the vehicle did a burnout and sped out of sight. And that's where this story may have ended. But the driver then decided to dial 911 an hour later to deliver what was as much a confession as it was a humble brag. Like, what do we pay you guys for? Wondered the caller, who identified himself as the driver who ran from the deputy. Like, I've driven past 4 cops. After some spirited back and forth, the conversation ended, but not before investigators zeroed in on the caller's phone number and tracked it right to his location. It turns out it was the same guy who sped away in the Elantra. The cops had no right to stop me, he told deputies. I saw him turn his lights and sirens on and was going to stop, but I didn't want to. And then they said, how did it, and then the person interviewing him said, how does it feel, sort of, isn't the joke on you because you told on yourself? And this is what he says. That's funny. So I told on myself, he said. No cop can catch me in my Hyundai Elantra. That thing's fast.
Dude, my
God,
my
man.
son had a Hyundai Elantra. Those are not like speed demons.
Bless him. Poor fella. Bless
my
his heart.
God.
That's all I can say. Bless his heart. You think that's funny that I told on myself? Well, no cop can catch me in my Hyundai Elantra. That thing's goddamn fast.
That's insane.
Too bad you guys can't actually see JC right now because he's laughing his ass off.
Yeah. This guy has a rat tail, right? He's got to have a rat tail.
Yeah. Does he?
Look at that mop. He's got to. All right. Okay. Last 3 stories. And I promise you,
Okay. Good night.
Just be quiet, man.
Okay.
the next one is amazing. Okay, but I want to talk about. We talked about this several times on the show. There is this sort of need for young people today to do. I actually think they're great. Let me just start by saying this. I think these are great ideas, but they're so stupid. And there are these challenges, like the hot water challenge.
Oh God.
Where now see, I think it's great because it's natural selection. If some idiot is gonna boil a pot of hot water and dump it on his head, more power to him.
Yeah.
That lets us know, who we need to watch out for. Now, here is the latest challenge that's going around.
Yeah, because remember we talked about the one where they blindfold
Yeah. The Bird Box challenge.
Bird Box challenge, yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Well, listen to this one. Latest viral challenge involving trash bags and a vacuum has doctors warning of suffocation hazards. So, if the title doesn't get you wondering, let me spell it out for you. A Las Vegas doctor is warning of a potential suffocation hazard after the latest viral internet craze, and that just bothers me to no end. This is a viral internet craze. The garbage bag challenge is showing. Now, I know what you're thinking. Nope, this is not people binging on Brett King videos. That's a different garbage. That's the garbage human challenge. But this is showing people placing their bodies in plastic bags. The viral video began appearing earlier this week and are already with videos of thousands of views and shares on a variety of social media platforms. The challenge shows videos placing the videos show people placing themselves into large plastic trash bags, and with the help of another person, a vacuum hose is placed into the bag and the air is sucked out. Moments later, the plastic shrinks around the person to the point they are unable to move and they fall the fuck over. In most videos, the people in these plastic bags are unable to break their fall and the challenge ends. It just takes someone not thinking and putting the bag over their head and you could asphyxiate. Now, we should not, under any circumstance, stop anyone that is going to do this challenge where they place the bag over their head.
That's nuts.
Because that's natural selection. And if that's going to take place, we just need to let it be. Now, I'm not advocating that anyone does that. I'm just advocating that no one stops anyone from doing that. So yeah, if it's so like to what end are these challenges gonna? I made the joke, but I don't think it's a joke. I literally think before long there will be the bitch slap a bear with honey challenge, where you put honey on your hand and you go around slapping grizzly bears. The cannonball off of the Empire State Building challenge. That's a good one.
That sounds fun. Yeah, that sounds fun.
Yeah.
Rock solid.
Yeah. Or yeah. So now, I love this one, especially if you follow our NASA and flat Earth debates here. Here we go. Trump attacks NASA and claims that the moon is part of Mars. Now,
of course he did.
Dave, if you'll go to the next news slide where it actually shows
He looks
the tweet.
super orange in that photo.
Yep. Just listen to this. Listen to this tweet. For all of the money we are spending, for all the money we are spending, NASA should not be talking about going to the moon. We did that 50 years ago. They should be focused on the much bigger things we are doing, including Mars, of which the moon is a part of. Defense and science. What is that? What is that last? What is that? Defense and science. Like there's
I feel that was
nothing else
like
to that.
Sometimes I
That's
think he's
Space
a sovereign.
Force.
Sometimes I think he speaks in sovereign citizen. I'm not even gonna lie. Like,
Oh, Jesus! I mean, like, to which the moon. we need to be focused on going to Mars, of which the moon is a part. What does that even mean? What does
I
that
don't
even
know.
mean? God, he's so fucking stupid. He's so fucking stupid. Oh man, I don't even think I need to read this article. The summary thing of it is just that Trump's declaration shocked many space enthusiasts because the moon has not traditionally been regarded as part of Mars. Why do these? Hey, you write for publications.
Mhm.
Why do a lot of these articles capitulate to the stupid people? Like earlier when we had to say that well, it's highly doubtful that traffic circles are causing an increase in tornadoes, or this the moon has not traditionally been regarded as part of Mars. When has it ever been regarded as part of Mars?
You know,
When?
Like, why can they not just
Sometimes-
say the moon is not part of Mars?
Well, obviously, if you read my column, that's not how I write. But, I think some writers, they are dumbing it down, and you have to kind of think of like the lowest common denominator. And so you have to speak it in like, I don't know.
Yeah. Now there's some people in the chat
Without
saying
like,
should,
so you want to like, some writers don't want to like isolate people, right? So they don't want to be like, I can't
Yeah,
call
but
you
I
an
mean-
idiot.
yes, you can.
I don't.
If there are people who think that going around in a traffic circle is causing an increase in tornadoes, you deserve to be called a fucking idiot. I'm sorry. I'm
Yeah.
sorry. I'm sorry to be that.
And I
be
would do
blunt.
that, and then I would probably get a letter from their lawyer.
For what? For what? If you have the right to say anything that you want, but you also have the right to be told what a fucking moron you are in return. That's the way that it goes. If I stand outside and I say, "Wow, we've had more fucking tornadoes than we've ever had this year, and it's not even started yet." Oh, there's been more traffic circles that have gone up this year. Tornadoes are circle, traffic circles are circle. This is a logical conclusion. You deserve to have somebody come up beside you and say, "You're a fucking idiot. Good day."
You have no like arguments
Ugh.
with me.
Man, okay.
You've read my column. You know that I don't mince words. So
Yeah. You know what? I don't even know if David, I'm not even gonna do that last story because I'm not gonna bring the mood down. Fuck it. Yes, I am. People need to know. We'll just go down for just a minute, okay? We always usually end the this week in newsdom with something that's serious that people I think need to know about. So let's go to the next one, Dave. Parents of a boy who was aged 7 who died after they treated his ear infection with homeopathy. Given a 3-month sentence. This infuriates me, and I'm going to tell you why here in just a second. But just some backstory: the parents of a 7-year-old who died from an ear infection after it was treated with homeopathic medicine have been found guilty of aggravated manslaughter and given a 3-month sentence. The boy died in the hospital on May the 27th, 2017 from encephalitis. He reportedly fell into a coma as the result of brain inflammation and died 3 days later. The school-aged child had originally been diagnosed with a common earache. The judge in the case sentenced the parents for failing to administer antibiotics, which would have cured the ear infection, but instead they chose to treat the problem with bullshit, which failed to resolve the problem.
My God.
Now,
Where did this
here's
happen?
the thing. This was in Italy, I believe. Yeah, this was in Italy. But this is something that has happened here. Happens here all the time.
All the time.
I spent a year 4 times the length of time that these pieces of shit got for killing their child.
Yep.
4 times as long. And this is heinous. Like, to watch your child die over the course of days when the antibiotics were there, they refused to administer them, instead opting for natural healing and this homeopathy bullshit. Like, people like this do not deserve to have children. I am not a parent, but I'm a better fucking parent than these people. I at least have, with all of my faults and with as a morally loose person as I am, I at least have the wherewithal that if you
For
have,
all the sex I have.
And I shouldn't have to say this, but if there's any parents listening now that for some reason you're confused about what you should do when it comes to the health care of your child, please listen to this gay non-parent loud and clear. Your responsibility, first and foremost, is not to yourself, not to what you think the way how you think things should be, not to what makes you feel good, not to what makes you feel like you're going to be able to post about and have a movement about, and how the government's just the bad guy and big pharma and all this bullshit. It's not about you when you have kids. It's about them. And your wants, your desires, and what makes you feel good come way second to that child. When you have medical professionals telling you what's wrong with your child and giving you something that could help them, something as simple as an earache that could be cured up within a couple days, and because you think you know it all, and because you think that people are lying to you, so everyone's lying to you, and that this is just another way for the government to make a dollar or control your life, shut the fuck up and listen to the healthcare professionals. Don't say a word. Shut the fuck up and give them what the medical professionals tell you to, because they went to school. They are smarter than you. They will always be smarter than you, and they are trying to save your fucking children. So shut the fuck up and do what they say.
Yes.
Please.
Please.
I have to point out, I don't know if this is true, but Cernian in the chat says it was a 3-month suspended sentence, which means they didn't actually get the 3 months. Is that true? Can we look into that?
You got to be shitting me. That better not be the case. Let's see. Cited him for that, resolving the problem. Figures. Let's see. At the end, it doesn't. This article that I have doesn't say. Yeah. Because yes, this this sentence was suspended in lieu of further crimes being committed on a probationary status.
So they got fucking probation, is what they got.
That is unbelievable. Well, let me tell you something. If they are able to get up in the morning and look at themselves in the mirror after doing that to a child, then I don't even know what to say about that. I don't even know what to say.
Yeah, that's. I feel like I could write a story like this every day. There's always something like this in the news. It's so sad.
Yeah, just
I'll never. I
people.
mean, you guys all know that my son has a million health issues, so I don't understand this at all. Like, you trust your doctors, you do what they say, and come on, an ear infection. Not only is that easily cured through antibiotics, but if you don't treat it, it's such a painful way to die. I mean, oh my God. And anyone that knows has a kid should know that, like, you don't let things go like sinus infections or ear infections because of the close proximity to the brain.
Well, my whole thing is, you don't do anything the doctor doesn't tell you to do when it comes to your
No.
kid. Like, unless you have a medical, an MD behind your name, you shut the fuck up and you listen to what the doctor says. I don't care how firm you are in your beliefs. I don't care what you think of the government. I don't care what you think of big pharma. I don't care what you think about any fucking thing. Shut your fucking mouth and listen to the goddamn people who went to school for this, who know what they're talking about. Because I promise you, in every case, it will be 900 million times more than the person sitting there fucking arguing with them. Guaranteed. God, it pisses me.
Right.
Okay.
Well, these parents don't actually think of, these parents are like, my child, my choice.
Yeah. Hey, JC.
Now you're sitting in a chair. He looks more calm now.
Hey, how's it going, you guys?
Hi.
Good. Well, I'm a little angry now, but I'll calm down. I promise.
Well, I could see that.
And I don't even
have. And I honestly think you're right on.
Go ahead.
Is there some kind of delay?
It may. Are you on a phone?
Yes, I am.
Maybe. It may be just a little bit of a delay between the two. So we'll keep that in mind, but that's no problem. Go ahead and finish what you were going to say there.
No, I really do think you're right on that. But I think that the consequences for child abuse on that matter should be a little more severe than just a probation period. Unless that article then stated that they were in prison for a certain period of time. But that's royal child abuse. And most people who practice homeopathy, I think, honestly, should be warned that there's going to be jail time for it if they're trying to do this to their kids, even though they may believe in it. I
mean, I got 4 times length of that for doing a line of coke in front of an officer. I mean, they can literally murder their kid, but I can't do cocaine. What kind of world are we living in? Doesn't make sense. Quit. Okay. JC, take a second and introduce yourself, sir.
Looks frozen. Is he frozen?
Either that
Did
or
he freeze?
Maybe he's taking a nap.
He's not moving.
Is he?
He's frozen.
Oh, well, I'll go ahead and introduce what we're going to talk about tonight. We're going to be talking about for-profit education, and that is universities that you see like University of Phoenix, Strayer, ITT Tech, Lord, there's so many. Capella,
Capella.
Kaplan. Which one did you work at?
Capella.
Capella. Okay. Dave, what's the
So
story on
there's
JC?
University of Phoenix is like one of the biggest ones. Strayer, who is now partnered, Strayer and Capella are like connected.
He disconnected. He's on his way back in.
But then there's tech schools like ITT Tech. Then there's like I think Argosy disappeared now. Tech schools. There's a really big one in the Midwest called Rasmussen. There's all like the different schools that are like on that advertise during the day on daytime TV. You're usually always for profit.
Mm-hmm. And well, I guess while we wait on JC to come back in, why don't you tell us what a little bit of backstory about what you did for Capella and how you started working there.
So I I spent the first part of my career right out of college working in mortgage with Wells Fargo, and then there was like that bubble that burst in the market. I started working at Wells Fargo in 2000. I don't even remember. And as the housing market bubble burst, I wanted to get out of the mortgage industry. And I was recruited by a headhunter who found my thing on some website way back in the day. And I got interviewed with Capella. And when I started there, I was like 25, and they had a really good pay scale. My job was to recruit and enroll people to start in different programs. I started in the School of Education and then eventually ended up working with the business MBA program for a while, and then spent the bulk of my career with our bachelor's in business programs. And it was a wild ride. I did really well economically. I made a lot of money, but there was so much that I learned along the way about. I was very good at the sales part. I understood a lot about the business side of things, and helping people reach business goals and that kind of stuff. But it was the behind the scenes stuff that I saw, that what I was telling people by what was given to me from all of my training was not matching the experience of the student once they got into school. And when I started looking at my retention rates over time, I was like, oh my God, like 80% of the people I enroll end up dropping out, or, I fielded so many calls all the time about fighting about like refunds, or dealing with like Capella not dropping someone and then people having to pay even though they didn't participate in class. It was so messy. And I realized, and I was there for a long time, 12 years. I reached the highest level you can get in that job. I worked from home. I made a lot of money doing what I did. And oh God, I felt like towards the end, I felt like I had no morals. I had no ethics.
Well, you don't.
I mean, I felt like I had morals and ethics, but I felt like the company I was working for had no morals and ethics. And I started reading about the student loan debt problem, how much money was owned by the for-profit schools versus profit schools. And they always had all of these talking points for us of why we should, explain away all of these humongous issues. And yeah, it was all a lot of smoke and mirrors.
And I want to go in detail here about that here in just a second, but I wanted to, I'm glad you mentioned that about let's see, let me pull up my facts here. About the numbers.
And there was also things like we were admitting people that really had zero reason to come to school. They didn't have any business experience, and that's what our program was supposed to be for, was people that were already in the business world. They didn't have any college credits. They didn't have, and there was no way that there would ever have been enough money to cover the program with the federal student aid. But we were just supposed to explain that away by offering different options, but not really like ever talking about the whole number. They always had a lot of ways for us to get around all of these things. And it felt super sleazy sometimes. I was like, oh God, this is gross.
Right.
And I would
And
bring it up with my manager and I'd be like, there was people I would enroll where the sole purpose for them enrolling was to literally defraud the government and get student loan refunds. And they would
mhm.
stay in class long enough to get the refund and then they would dip. And you know who eats that expense? Capella gets their money, but who eats the expense when someone defaults on a student loan? It's not Capella, it's the taxpayer.
Mhm.
So
And
ethically, I'm sorry.
just let me just. You're fine. I just wanted to put in. This is a good time to mention this. For comparison, here in North Carolina, in 2015, the differences between tuition. So if you were going to go to a for-profit school that existed here in North Carolina, you would be paying um, $34,000 average in debt at your graduation, compared to 22,000 for public universities. That's
Yep.
over. I mean, that's over. That's over 10 grand difference that you're saddled
The
with.
program that I sold at Capella was, I think, $52,000 or something like that, or $48,000. And yeah, it's ridiculous. And you only get so much student loan aid based on per year. So if someone's going to only use student loans, and it caps out at a certain number too. So people like reach their lifetime limit and they can't, there's only X amount that you can get. And our program well exceeded that. It well exceeded because they only get for their very first year. I think at the time it was like 8,500, and that's like nowhere near enough to cover the 16,000 that you needed to get through the first year. And we didn't offer private loans, and there was so much deception. And look, there's my Capella up there. That's where I
Mhm.
worked. And
What would-
I would sit on the phone I remember questioning once in a meeting about why our tuition was so expensive, because I can tell you from a Capella, and I worked there for 12 years. I left in 2016, so it's been about 2.5 years, but my best friend still works there, so I still know what's going on. They do not own any property. They don't have very much overhead. They only rent space in a tower in Minneapolis. They don't have the kind of overhead that a campus would have. They don't have full-time staff that handle like curriculum. They don't have a ton of like full-time faculty. It's mostly adjunct faculty. And like 80% of all of the revenue that comes in goes to marketing to get new students. It doesn't go into the programs. And I would say to them, why are we spending so much on marketing? And why are we charging so much for classes when we don't have overhead? We literally have no reason to charge this much because we're not even offering products that are like even at all relatable or even equivalent to what you could get at a land-based school. And it would always be like, we can charge this much because we can. That
Mhm.
was their
And
rationalization.
I'm seeing that in like I've got several statistics that I want to go through just briefly, and then I want to and we are trying to get JC back. So JC, I sent you an email. If you happen to be watching, I just need your Skype name. If you'll email that to me, we can bring you in that way. And if for whatever reason we don't get JC back in, if anybody in the chat has had either went to one of these schools or worked there, that sort of thing, tag me in the chat and we'll see about getting you on. You can tell us about your experience. But okay, so these are the statistics when you compare the nonprofit colleges to the for-profit colleges. Okay, 28% of for-profit college students graduate with a 4-year degree. 28% versus
Yeah.
68% at private or nonprofit. That is
So
such a
that's
drastic
yeah,
number.
it's huge. And that would be what you called the completion rate. And so they have different markers that they look at for overall, like your success as a school. So you have a completion rate, which is the completion, what percent of your students that you're enrolling actually complete the degree. And then you have a retention rate, which is what percent of students that you start are still in class a year later. And for-profit schools fail miserably at these all the time, and they always have really high default rates on student loans too, which I'm sure you have statistics for as well.
Brian Stevens in the chat says, what if someone was going to teach a college course in an online setting such as Twitch? Basically, the whole world could learn a college course. I think that's fantastic. I have no issue with that. The issue with sort of what we're talking about is the predatory practices and the this is a good segue for this. For-profit schools spent $8 per student versus $5,887 per student in a private or non-for-profit school. So the for-profit school is spending $8 per student on research versus nearly $6,000 on the other side. That's outrageous.
Marketing.
I mean,
yep.
That's outrageous.
Well,
but yes,
the thing is that for-profit schools aren't research schools, and so they're not going to spend money on research. They're also not going to spend money on, any sort of, and faculty at these schools are barely faculty at that. Many of them are. Yeah. No, I'm just telling you, like they're like a
Sure,
land-based school where they're mandated to research.
Yeah, I'm just saying
It's
that is a almost shocking difference between $8 and $6,000. I mean, that is
it is, but
outrageous.
They don't do research. So if you think of it from that context, it's not that shocking because they're not research schools. So they wouldn't spend money on research.
When they're saying research, they're meaning like in terms of getting that when I said research, I didn't mean it like that's what they're spending the money on. The research into these studies found that they were spending per student when it came to like what the school provides in terms of right not for research. That's fine. Not for research, but in the research of putting this together, $8 and $6,000 is just unbelievable.
So for-profits spend how much?
For-profits spend an average of $8. I guess because most of it's online, but I guess they do have to run some papers for them to sign or whatever. There is some sort of cost in terms of like distributing something if you have like an on-campus class maybe, but it's $8 compared to $6,000.
For what?
For per student costs. That's just what it says, per student costs. I'm assuming that's like, test materials, stuff that they, enrichment stuff, part of the program, that sort of thing. It doesn't really go into much detail, but whatever it is, that's a huge.
Yeah, they don't know. Like, they don't invest any money into the programs. They don't invest any money into the retention of students. They don't invest money into the curriculum, the faculty. The faculty are not faculty. I mean, they are loaded a preloaded curriculum, which is what they did at Capella. So if you were in a MBA program, there was like a department head that wrote all the curriculum. And then the faculty that taught the program, the class, or the professor or whoever, all that person did was facilitate what was given to them. There was no teaching. It was, they wrote something, they shared it, but it was all formulated for them by somebody else.
Sure. How about if on these elections that are coming up, as someone who had to, I'm almost thankfully finished paying off my student loans, but how about giving the candidates that are advocating for either drastically reducing or making college free in some sense a listen to, and not the hydrogenated Cheeto? Because this country would just think about what this country could be if everyone had access to education, and a good education, one that could
Well,
take them
see,
places.
what happened under Obama, and this is what I was dealing with when I left in 2016, was, and this was before the election in 2016, but Obama like drastically reduced and restricted for-profit schools, and they made it harder for like more regulations around financial aid, more regulations around admissions, more regulations to get the predators out of the market. And during that time, many schools filed Chapter 7, Chapter 11. Tons of schools exited the market. They completely shut down. There was so many news stories where, you know, a school would literally like one day exist and the next day it wouldn't. And that's what I was dealing with at the time when I left. And then what's happening now is that, and what happened is we were on this massive trajectory where we would roll just about anyone because there was no regulations. And then he tightened the regulations, and then we couldn't enroll anybody. And which was for me better because I felt like it was a little bit more ethical, right? But now Trump has rolled back all of those regulations, which has again made it easier for these schools to prey on these people.
Wow.
And now
who had one of the greatest scam universities out there? Remember Trump University?
Oh yeah.
I mean,
what was his? It was like 25 million or something like that.
Or he just sucks so bad. Oh, he just sucks. How did we go from Obama to the? Let me just say this: hashtag thanks Obama for at least attempting to put the regulations on there. But this wouldn't have happened if we would have gotten Bernie.
No. Nope.
So think about that this time, guys. I'm just saying, the free college thing. I know that the socialist word scares a lot of people. If people would wake up to the fact that there are so many programs, a lot of which they probably the people who are scared of that socialist word or that frightens them a little bit are actually probably a part of. There are many aspects to the American way of doing things that are socialist. So the education thing, I think, is something that we should all agree should be something that should be available to everybody, and that would,
The thing is that most states have amazing community colleges which offer entrance for people with very reduced rates for tuition. And especially on the bachelor's level, individuals that go through a community college, and some people will downplay and say that this is such a, it's like a losers go to JC or junior college, whatever you want to call it. But in reality, you're doing the same classes for a fraction of the price as you would if you were to go to a university. You're going to have smaller class sizes, which will help someone that maybe struggled in high school to find a groove and be successful. So there's lots of options for people that want to reduce their education. The problem is that these for-profit educations are offering programs and they're preying on that market that would have gone to a community college instead, that would have saved money, and they're increasing their student loan debt exponentially. When I left in 2016, the student loan debt was at like $28 billion, I think, or $48 billion. I don't know what it's at today, but at the time, like 60% of that was owned by like 4 schools.
I believe that. And here's the thing, community colleges are amazing and fantastic, and everything you said there was dead on. And as affordable as they can be, I just personally don't think that that's good enough. I think in this country we should be offering education to everyone. And people are going to say, well, how are we going to pay for it? Well, that's easy. Legalize marijuana nationwide and tax the churches. Tax the fuck out of churches. Remove those sacred strings that we have put around religion. They've shown that they can't be trusted with them. with all the sex scandals and everything that they've got going on. Tax the fuck out of churches. You'll have more money to do. You will be paying people to go to university. You'll have so much money with marijuana and tax the church. You can pay for whatever you want in this country. So that's my plan. That's how we do it. Easy, simple. Boom.
Let the potheads get stoned.
Yeah, or like there's look at Colorado. I mean, there's ramen, and then you just throw that, you remove those special protections for churches, because why? What are they doing with it? You look at that interview on Inside Edition with the vampire lord Kenneth Copeland, when they caught him coming out of his limo, wanting to know about that third jet that he needed to have that he bought from Tyler Perry. Well, if the Lord tells you to go somewhere, you make sure you're there. And in public transportation, in planes, in economy, it's just demons, and you got to wrestle with demons, and it's just like, we're not taxing this fuck. We're giving him. He's got 3 jets, $1 million home that he flies to, and we're not taxing him. Students are going in debt at astronomical numbers and not having to. They're choosing to either eat or get their medications or whatever. And this fuck is having to wake up and choose which jet do I want to fly to the next city over today. Fuck that.
I know. Well, think about it, like Scientology, they have that nonprofit status too. And like, I don't know if you ever watched like the Leah Remini Scientology. Yeah. So on one of the episodes, they were talking about how much money the church uses of their nonprofit money to seriously dedicate to stalking, harassing, and like berating people that have left the church. I mean, that's what they're using their money for.
Absolutely. And with the Catholic Church, it's being used to move priests around that are being accused of sexual molestation, because they don't want to talk about it. So they're moving it. They're using it to pack up this guy, move him over here, and pay for the moving expenses to one guy down to Disneyland, and maybe hush this family up over here. The Southern Baptists, same thing with their scandals going on. The Kent Hovens, the Jim Bakers, the Swaggarts, all using it they're not paying their taxes. Not only are they not getting taxed, but they're not even paying payroll tax for the employees, any of that stuff. They don't feel like they have to do a fucking thing. At every turn, these now don't get me wrong. Yes, there are some churches that I'm sure are just as good as gold. These small country churches where everybody knows everybody. I'm sure that you could go through there and there wouldn't be a thing unaccounted for. And I'm not talking about those churches. Unfortunately, they get mixed in with the sins of the father, as it were, with the other churches. But there are, I'm not saying this about every church, but the majority of them, I guarantee, somewhere along the line, that money is being used for nefarious purposes, or purposes that not everybody in that congregation knows about, or purposes that the government would like to know about, or purposes that are illegal, or purposes that are horrendous. So.
Right, because God forbid they be transparent about how they spend their money.
Yeah. So anytime somebody says something about, we don't have the money to pay for that, yeah, we do. Oh, yes, we do. We need to ask Jesus. It's time for that tithe to come back. Jesus needs to be footing the college kids' bill from now on. Let Jesus pay to send kids to college. That would be an excellent campaign too. Who could say no to that? Who could say no when you said, listen, Jesus wants you to send these college kids to school? What do you think? Who's gonna say no?
Nobody.
No one.
What would Jesus do? Send you to college.
Pay your taxes, Jesus. Okay, so Katie, what are the Dave, did you just message me?
Yes, JC is on the
line. Okay, cool. Welcome back, JC.
Oh, I wasn't about to give up on you guys yet.
I like to hear commitment. I have abandonment issues.
So I'm running on a little bit of a delay, so I'm sorry if I speak over you guys.
That's no problem.
Dude,
So
it's
tell us about your
all good.
experience with these
University
predatory
of Phoenix.
school systems. Yeah.
I started about 6 years ago, and at that time I had been working multiple different jobs, mainly ranging from peach fields, cherry picking fields, strawberry fields, tree farming, all of that. I mean, we're talking hard labor jobs. And at this point in time, I was needing to get out of it. I couldn't take these kind of jobs anymore. I mean, the type of work that I had to do just it wasn't paying enough, and the amount of grueling labor it takes is horrendous. I have had a lot of experience working with many people who work these seasonal type jobs and these hard labor ones, and many of them, like me, wanted to get out of it. They wanted to go back to school. They wanted to get an education. I mean, even though I graduated high school, that wasn't going to be enough. So, about the time that I was about 21, that's when I started looking for school. The problem is that this time, for here in Oregon, Chemeketa was one of the options you could take, but it was a 2-year program. And for a little while, they only offered a 2-year program. So I didn't the just an associate's because the majority of jobs were now requiring bachelor's degrees. So I needed to go to a 4-year school. Now, what makes this even worse is that I live in a very rural part of Oregon. I mean, I have to travel almost an hour to get to any small town, and then almost 3 to 4 hours to get to any major city. And I mean, that's a lot of travel back and forth. And one of the schools that I had wanted to attend was Oregon State University. The issue is that if you don't have stellar 4.0 grades to get scholarships to get in, or you don't have like Trump money in this case, where it just comes out of everywhere, then there's no way for you to get in, because it makes it near impossible. Wait, what?
I just said no collusion.
Well, you know, the Mad King is in power right now, so.
Witch hunt.
I mean, we'll
Go ahead.
But so in my desperation to get an education to have a better job, my original focus was I wanted to actually become a professor. I really did want to become a professor of cosmology, but the issue with that is I'm absolutely terrible with math. And I did not have the grades to get noticed by a school of that grandeur, because Oregon State University would have meant that I could have gotten my degree, my master's in that eventually, and I would have been able to teach at a college setting. So, in order to make up for that, because this was during the Obama era, I had to take a different course, and so there were all of these different types of schools, from Ashford University. There was a couple of other ones, I can't remember the names anymore, but there was Ashford, and then there was University of Phoenix. And they offered this unbelievable program. So my first attempt was to go through Ashford, which was an online only school. That ended up failing, as the financial advisor and the recruiter I had to go through completely messed up my financial aid papers at this time. And so what ended up happening is that I was being assigned to classes. I began to start my classes there, and I just about finished my first major class, and that's when I got kicked out. I was kicked out because my financial aid papers had not been filed correctly. So I was basically going in without any money at all. So they threw me out of that, and they were telling me that I needed to pay this back. And well, at this time, since it was only one class, it was about $1,300. Well, I told them I was permitted to go. I was greenlit by my recruiter and financial advisor, whom when they started really looking into it, found out that, oh my God, none of this paperwork was filed correctly. So they dropped those charges. So then I moved on trying to find a different school to go to. And that's when University of Phoenix kind of caught wind of me. They were telling me at the where I was getting recruited at, which I believe was on Hawthorne. That campus is now closed down, but they were telling me, oh yeah, we can't offer you a degree in what you're looking for as a professor, but there are multiple other avenues you could take as a step towards getting that degree. And right now, I mean, we are in an economy where the medical industry is booming, and they really need people to work in this economy. And I was like, oh, okay, so what are my options to look at? And mainly they were a business degree focused school. And so they signed me up for health administration. Then that's when they told me, oh my God, yeah, and if you finish this degree, you'll be looking at, at least a 10-figure job, guaranteed. I mean, I wasn't quite expecting, to get a job right out of college of, $100,000 a year. But, I mean, I looked at it and I was like, okay, well, I'll go through this because this is my only option at this point. And so they told me, oh, yeah, it's perfect. We'll set up this whole class around your schedule and everything. We know you live in this rural area. We know that it's quite an effort to go ahead and go from all the way where you live, where it takes just about over an hour to get here. So we'll work with you on that. We'll set up your classes, and the majority of it was online. And as the classes were set up, I would attend one on-ground lecture for about 5 to 6 hours, and then I would be online for the rest of the time. Well, during that period of time they signed me up, I bought it hook, line, and sinker. I had bought this just out of the blue because I was so desperate for an education. I was desperate to get out of this hard labor jobs that were murdering me. I mean, from
do you think that they
hard hours.
Let me stop you. Let me stop you just for a second. Do you think that they preyed on that a little bit, knowing that you were in a sort of a desperate situation, and told you everything that you wanted to hear to just to get you, on board?
Oh, they did.
Like looking back.
Oh, they did.
Gotcha.
And
That's what you're trained to do.
Well, they bought into that because they knew, because from what my records were stating was that I was wanting out of this to at least have. They already knew I wanted just a decent job to where I could have a decent life, and school, as I had been told for years, was the way to do that. And I had fully admit at this time I was completely, and I just bought into it because the schedule they offered, the classes they were talking about, and how they would work around my schedule were just perfect. Because I mean, I live far away from any city, and the hours I had to work for my current job just to keep afloat were killing me as it is. And so I started the classes, and I bought it. Not long after that, my recruiter disappeared.
How much were you in by this point?
Terms?
How much were you how much were you in financially at this point?
$55,000 and going up.
55,000? Whoa.
Right now, I am currently in debt for $55,000 total, and that is steadily increasing.
Damn. Okay.
Yeah,
so your recruiter disappeared, and
a lot of them started disappearing. No more than about 6 recruiters, financial advisors. They were just dropping off like flies, and I didn't pay attention to it at the time. In fact, there were about 40 of us in this school. I went with a class of about 40, and for the next 4 years, I busted my balls to get this degree because this degree meant everything to me. Because this was my ticket
to having a decent life for a change, instead of being dirt poor and, watching as my family struggled. Because this was going to be my opportunity to help them out, to get them out of this.
Mm-hmm.
And throughout this whole thing, I did notice that there was, in fact, some of us got worried about halfway through. We were about 2 years in. There was a class action lawsuit against University of Phoenix.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we had brought this up to some of the people in their Tigard campus, which was in another bigger than us, and they immediately, almost with a sleazy smile, basically downplayed, gaslit, and disingenuously played it so far down to where they had actually convinced us with very little effort that that it wasn't much of anything. It was just somebody filing, a complaint. One of the staff members said something they shouldn't have, and these students just felt like they had been, cheated because blah blah blah, and they played it down so much that we kind of looked at each other. We're like, oh, okay, cool. We thought it was something bad. The class action lawsuit was actually against them for the very thing that they had roped us into.
Gotcha.
And
did you join?
But no, because I did not know about this at the time, because they had downplayed it to us on all the people that were there. In fact, I'm not the only one. There are thousands of us that had this downplayed and never knew about this. And think of it as kind of like how Nathan Oakley denies, the scientific method, and just downplays it, undermines it, covers it up, moves the goalpost, and then the people that are watching, well, at least some of them, probably don't even realize that they've just been, bamboozled there.
Let me ask you this. When was it that, what was the moment that it all hit you, that you realized that, oh, I've been got? Like, was there a moment or a single event that happened that,
Yeah,
all the
there
cards just kind of fell?
It was after my graduation. I had gotten the degree. I went to I went to a medical facility to become basically a health unit coordinator. I went in there with full confidence, because I now had a bachelor's, and so I went in. They did a panel interview of me, and at first they were loving everything I was telling them. I was ready to do this, and they knew I was fresh out of college. And then they asked me, okay, so where did you get your degree from? And I was like, oh, University of Phoenix. It was the most horrifying thing I had ever witnessed, as pretty much the entire panel of interviewers were desperately fighting not to break out in laughter.
Really?
In really bad laughter. And to make the matter worse, is they were like, oh, that's great. I'm glad you got your education. Well, we're going to give you a call back, and we'll let you know if you got the position. And so I left the room with this dreadful feeling. But some of them were laughing as I had closed the door and exited.
Wow, that's
It was a devastating period of my life at that time.
Sure, yeah.
Because
I can
this degree
imagine.
was supposed to be my ticket to freedom.
Right.
And it ended up being the ball and chain that would never let me back.
It's sort of a fucked up thing too, because once you start, like if you're midway through and you realize, that they're not going to be able to deliver on everything that they they promised you, or that's not going to work out, you're sort of almost forced to continue. Do any of those courses or anything with any of those trends transfer over to maybe a community college, or something similar where they?
Some of them are transferable, but a majority are not.
Okay, so let me play devil's advocate here just for a second, because I know that this will be the question that is that would be asked. What would you say to the somebody that would say, why didn't you look into University of Phoenix online, check them out and thoroughly vet them before diving in this deep?
It was because I didn't feel like I was ever going to get into another school. I
Gotcha.
have to fully admit here, I was a poor high school student,
Sure.
and
Yeah.
so my high school record was poor.
Yeah. And
Terrible
you
at
don't really
math. I mean,
expect
throughout
a school
my
to
entirety of
lie to
high
you
school,
either.
I never passed pre-algebra. It wasn't until until I got into college when I finally got algebra 2.
Got it. So what's your plan now?
Right now, that's what I've been trying to figure out. I tried to go through the pay plan, which is pay as you earn. Well, that actually does not work with my employer. As when I talked to my boss about this, my boss said, "I'm sorry, we don't we're not enrolled along with the pay program." And I called my my student debt loan my financier there for it.
Mhm.
And they were so vague and so devoid of any help. They told me very specifically, "We'll go look it up." And even though I was calling them because I was trying to look it up, and I couldn't make any head or tails of what any of it meant. And what programs would I say? Is this a program that I could be? Is this a program that I'm not? What does all of this mean? No help. None. Called about 3 times, and each time I did, it was the same answer. "Well, you just need to look it up. There are multiple different programs. We'll send you all this this paperwork," and they sent me all this paperwork with all the different options, but I had no idea what they meant at all.
So it
Basically, I'm sorry.
Katie, what would you say about hold on. What would you say about somebody in his case? Like, have you seen this before?
Yes. All day, every day.
And
That's all I did. All I did was talk to people like him and people that felt like they were stuck in dead-end jobs and wanted to move up, wanted to have more opportunities, just needed that next step. And you are just basically sold to like told to sell to their pain points, explain to them how this is going to improve their lives, and sell this dream of like financial freedom and possibility after they get their degree, not realizing that they're never going to finish the degree. They're going to end up massively in debt, and then once they do graduate, their degree isn't really worth the like it's not even worth the paper that it's printed on.
So it's kind of weird. It's kind of weird having you both in here and seeing, kind of hearing both sides of that story.
This is why ultimately I told you, this is why I left. When I left in 2016, this is what happened. I started looking and digging, and I pushed at my managers for years about all of the money we were spending on the marketing and how we didn't spend money on the back end. We didn't have any services for students once they got there. We had no support for them once we handed them off. And the reason why recruiters were abandoning you is because they didn't have time to help you, because their job isn't to help you once you're enrolled. Once you're enrolled, you're enrolled. The recruiter's job is to go get more people. It's not that they didn't want to help you, they simply can't. It's not in their job. And
Yeah.
that's the problem, is that we would have people like him come to us and be like, "I don't have anyone to talk to. Nobody's answering my questions. I can't get a hold of financial aid." And so half your day is trying to help them, but then you have quotas to make in terms of the amount of calls that you make, the number of people that you talk to, the number of people the applications you take, the number of the enrollments that you have, and they're not supposed to pay you based on enrollments, but they absolutely pay you based on enrollments. It's all worked into the compensation model, and you're awarded with incentives. The more successful you are in enrollments, the more money you make. Even though it's illegal to pay you on enrollments, they still do it. And that's when that changed in 2012. When that whole model changed from being able to be paid based on enrollments to not, that's when everything changed. That was part of the Obama administration. And really what happened there was that we didn't have that sort of like driver anymore. We didn't have to enroll people, but then at the same time, they still wanted you to enroll people. And it got to a point for me where I started looking from an ethical standpoint as why am I enrolling people that B, aren't going to finish their degree, B, have no business being in this program, and C, can't afford it.
Right. JC, are you somewhere where you can we're getting a lot of like feedback or wind from your end.
Yeah,
Can you get
just a minute.
sure?
Sorry.
Which I mean,
it's like 90 degrees in my house.
Oh no, that's fine. We're wrapping up here soon anyway. While you do that, let me just address something in the chat really quick. Get a job. Let's have a word really fast. I like your videos. I think you're a cool guy most of the time. But I modded you because I don't like having an echo chamber all the time, and I think it's good to have people that sort of have different opinions and different views on things. But what I won't tolerate, what I will not absolutely tolerate, and what you're doing, what you tried to do there with hiding people because you got put in timeout, proves why in every case you can't trust modding somebody of a different viewpoint than you because they act like babies when everything doesn't go their way. I don't put up with people putting information like the majority of gay men were sexually abused as a child, because that is absolutely false. Wherever you got that, it's bullshit. I don't know if it's from your right-wing sources. I don't care. One thing you learn about me here is that's an issue where I don't joke, I don't play, and I'm giving you a warning. Now, you can choose to do one of two things. I've demodded you right now. You can come back on a different stream, and you can come back on your stream and on another stream, and if you're chill and you're fine, you can get it back. But you need to take a breather and realize that I'm not going to put up with that bullshit. Not here, not today, not any day, and it's not going to go that way. So you can choose how things play out from here, but you can ask the chat. I will not bend in any way on that. So try me if you'd like. Your call.
What mod are you? Who's the mod? Who are you yelling at?
Get a job.
That's his name.
Mm-hmm.
Get a job.
Yeah. JC, are you back?
Yeah, I'm still here. I heard the whole thing.
Okay. Did you have anything that you wanted to say to sort of close out, wrap up? I'm gonna get to super chats and then.
Yeah. To anybody that's looking into a college like this, all I can say is I don't. It doesn't matter whether it says DeVry, Ashford, or any of these type of for-profit schools that are being advertised all over the place that are telling you that they can do everything in the world for you. Automatically assume that they are basically no different than like the scam callers that try to call you for a refund. They're hideous lies. I mean, to this day, as an example, I am over $50,000 in debt, and I'm delinquent on it because I cannot find a way to pay it because my current job as a healthcare worker would not even begin to be able to pay the $530 a month that I would be expected to pay. So if this doesn't stand as testimony to them, then I wish you good luck if you decide to enroll with them, but I really would hope that you would stick to schools that actually are accredited, such as your local community colleges or your state-provided universities, and avoid anything that comes from these people's mouths, because it's like that scene from it was one with the cops and Will Ferrell in it, and he got his degree in negotiation there. It's practically worthless because I have a degree. I don't even know what I'm supposed to do for that kind of job, and my degree is nothing more than glorified toilet paper with a lot of debt.
And I hate to hear that too, man. I really feel for you that happened to you. And there's, I mean,
Oh,
what in the world can you do? You know?
it's no worries. I mean, I will do what I can. I mean, me and my family have survived worse than this. We've been in worse poverty, and so, you know, to us, this is just another test of our willpower here. And as far as it goes, I'll eventually go back to school. I'm going to get that cosmology degree, and it's going to happen. But right now, I wanted this to get out so that people who were as desperate as I am, and even in some cases still am, avoid these places. They're nightmarish hellholes, and these collection calls will never stop. They can even sue you and garnish your loans. Oh, and garnish your pay. So
Yeah, you cannot. You
Crazy.
can never like claim. You cannot claim bankruptcy on student loan debt. You cannot go like you have to pay that money back.
Mhm.
Mm.
And
Sucks.
That's so fucked up.
that's the thing.
That's so fucked up.
I just hope people realize. I mean, especially in this country where education is severely broken, and then there's literally great whites circling the education system here, just trying to latch on. For me, in this case, right now, it doesn't look like there's a light at the end of the tunnel, but I'm pretty sure I'll find something in time. But I don't know yet.
Well, at least you got that. You know, at least you got the attitude about it. And a lot of times that is the deciding factor. You know, like I know when I went to it's funny because it was actually 4 years ago today when I was released from actually I think I might have what I'm doing, y'all, is I am putting together a video series about the criminal justice system. It's going to be a 6-part series, and I was going back through a lot of my stuff today, and I'll show you guys.
Yes, your hair is looking amazing today. Did you
Thanks,
just
girl.
color it?
I think in this, like, I had it colored a month and a half ago, but when I'm outside,
so good.
When I'm outside, it gets blonder being outside.
Yeah.
So
Well, all that aside, I just wanted to be as smart as Red's rhetoric and fight the flat Earth, man. I get kind of jealous of how cool they're able to just rip off facts like it's just butter.
he's really dumb and ugly. So
Oh
don't
no!
go by.
I mean, I'm pretty sure my face could beat that. I mean,
No.
at least that's what I get told.
Let me cover my Let me cover up some of this. I don't think there's anything. This is literally your get out of jail, not free card, but this is your, see it right there.
Yeah.
Release card here. Look at that hair. Look at that hairdo that morning. I didn't give a shit. I was ready to get out. But yeah. So I got that, and then I got this was my hotel bill where it explained what I owed and how long I had to pay it. And then I had to sign literally 20 pages of rules that I would have to abide by for the next 6 months. I'll just read off a couple of these so you guys can understand the how they spell it out for you here. I will not commit another crime. I will work faithfully at sustaining suitable employment or pursue a course of study or vocational training that will equip the supervisee for employment. That you do not use, possess, or control any legal or illegal substances. You can't possess a firearm. You have to report to a officer at reasonable times. This was the thing that this was great here. You must remain within the geographic limits fixed by the commission unless granted written permission to leave by the commission or post-release supervising officer. So my fixed position was in the Midwest corner of Randolph County, and anytime I wanted to leave that little corner, i.e., go to the store, go to Walmart, like I love to do, Usually, literally, anywhere that I wanted to go, I had to call and get permission before doing so. And if I didn't, and the probation officer came by and I wasn't there, you could be violated and sent back. Where is that one thing? I just want to read one more thing and then we'll wrap up. But there's one line in here that talks about where. Okay, here we go. You will at any time submit to searches of your person, your premise, your vehicle, your home, anything in your possession, anything or anyone in the vicinity to you, possession or vehicle or dwelling, the test of illegal drugs, and you will be required to reimburse the Department of Corrections for the cost of these searches and drug tests.
Oh my.
Isn't that crazy?
Oh my god.
How much does a search cost? Okay. Let me read these two super chats real quick. Kyle, you really made me believe tonight. I think that was from last night, but thank you. And Quest, Kyle's a good parent for sure. If I had children, I'd feel safe with Kyle looking over there in 100%. I'm good with kids as long as I can give them back whenever I'm tired of them. I'm really good with kids as long as I can give them back. Katie.
I will. Yes. I will sell
hold
you
on.
my son.
I got one more. I think just came in. This is from me, and I just became your patron yesterday. Oh, cool. Welcome aboard. I'm glad you could address this problem. I could have owed 20,000 student loans for 9 months for a 9-month program. Luckily, finished my degree in a community college for only $1,900. Oh, very nice. Very nice. You got lucky. You got very lucky. So yeah, Katie, do you have anything that you want to talk about, put out there before we say goodnight to everyone?
I'm just really grateful that he is speaking out, because I feel like when I was working there, it was stories like his that I feel like they were making us not look at. And it was ultimately what made me and forced me to leave, because I felt like I couldn't do it anymore. I felt like everyone around me was being enriched and rewarded by the suffering of other people. And from an ethical standpoint, I couldn't do it anymore. And when I left, I was making close to $100,000. And I told my husband I quit, and I was done. Nothing. I was done.
Now you deal. Well, I will say this: you are getting punished, because now your penance is dealing with people who turn their literal blood into blood sausages, drink turpentine, and all the other shit. So.
And now I'm getting pounded by beauty influencers and their stands. Holy crap, are their stands insane?
Okay, that doesn't sound bad. Okay, you can't expect people to feel sorry for you when you say, I'm getting bombarded by beauty influencers. Will beauty influencers please bombard me?
Well,
ahead,
Katie, I just want to point out that I forgive you for your past sins, because, yeah. I don't blame the people that actually recruited me. I blame the school heads that actually own this business.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And you have to remember that the people that are there are brainwashed by the higher ups that are telling them to not look at things, to not think about things, to stay in their lane, to do their job. And my problem is I couldn't stay in my lane. I couldn't do my job. And I was constantly pushing back and asking questions and wanting to know more. And I never felt good about it. And like I said, my best friend still works there, and we still will get into very combative conversations about it, because I will literally argue with what she's doing, and she'll say, this is what works for me, blah, 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 blah. But I'll always land a jab every once in a while, and she'll tells me to shut up and, whatever. But it's not everyone can walk away the way I did. And it changed our lives dramatically. I mean, we went from a very comfortable life to not, but at the same time, I remember like going to bed at night and being like, oh my God, I don't feel dirty anymore. Like I don't feel like I'm doing something to harm somebody anymore. And thankfully, you know, my husband was super supportive, and it allowed me to start taking my hobby of writing to become a career, which then brought me to Pathios, which then in turn helped me launch my YouTube channel, which has all helped sort of, it's building. I'm nowhere near what I was making before, but I'm still, you know, every day getting closer and closer and closer to knowing that the money I'm making now, while less, means more to me because I know that what I'm doing isn't harming people, and I'm not like I'm using my voice for positive things instead of, even though I feel like I'm criticizing people all the time.
You are.
I'm like constantly bitching at people, but I'm
You are.
affecting change and speaking things that people don't want to say about stuff. So I feel better about what I'm doing in life now than I was before.
Well,
Just
just remember, everybody, please vote. Sanders needs us.
Yes. Definitely pay attention to who you vote for. This year, this is not the election to stand on your principles of third party and not voting for a Democrat or anything like that. Save that for another election because this is not the one. Rally behind the clearly intelligent choice this election, and maybe we can get this. Maybe we can actually make America great again. Good night.
Oh, I don't know. That line there just sounded dirty.
It better be. That's how I always end the show.
All right. Well, thank you guys for having me on and allowing me to speak up about this.
Yeah, man.
I really
Take care.
appreciate it.
Good night, Joe.